All right, so this is one story that situates us in the context of the universe as a whole and tries to develop a fairly seamless narrative that goes all the way back, or at least as far back as we can go so far, to explain where the universe came from, why it has the major features that it has, where we ourselves came from, and how we fit into the grand scheme of things. All right, I'll change color here to make a couple of points. This is a course in philosophy of education. So suppose we say, all right, as educators, we want to teach students the truth about the nature of the universe and where the students fit into the grand scheme of things. If we think that this is essentially the right story and the right approach, what will we be teaching our students if we want them to know who they are, where they came from, and so forth? And they say, well, we'll then have to teach them this material, right, and teach it all as an integrated whole here. So we start looking at the various aspects. And we say, all right, matter and energy, expansion and cooling, what is the subject matter that we're dealing with here, or what discipline educationally deals with issues of matter, energy, and expansion and cooling? And then we say, well, clearly that is the subject matter of physics. So it'll be important for students to know physics. When we get to this stage here, the formation and elaboration of the chemical repertoire, obviously that's chemistry. So if they want to understand the world around them, chemistry will be an absolutely essential subject matter. If we want them to understand the galactic structure, right, of the universe, or all of the different galaxies, and have a sense for how those work and the vast distances that are involved, in this case we want them to have knowledge of astronomy. If we want them to understand the Earth and all of its features, here we're talking geology, we're talking about life, we're talking about biology, academic difference. When we're talking about human beings, then we are talking about anthropology. And then when we start talking about civilizations, things get very complicated here. Then not only in addition to all of these things here, we have to then start dealing with all of the social sciences. We will want students to start to know something about economics, right? As our putting food on the table, economic issues are a whole lot more complicated in civilizations than when we're primitive hunter-gatherers. Our politics starts to become a whole lot more complicated at this point. Our technology, our skills and the ways in which technology informs our lives becomes much more complicated here. As we become wealthier, we start to develop the various arts and all of the things that we do in the humanities, literature, and so forth, in the study of history. So all of these things then become important. And so we will want students to study all of these disciplines as well. All right, now, if we then say we want to understand the universe and we want to teach our students the true story of the universe, then as educators, the curriculum that we're going to develop is going to be dominated by these subjects. This, in effect, will be our curriculum. We'll want them to know physics, chemistry, astronomy, geology, anthropology, economics, politics, the arts, the social sciences, and the humanities as well. So what we will have then, if we were to boil all of that into just a few words, curriculum is a curriculum. What the content, right, of our educational system is going to be is one that is dominated by the natural sciences, right, the social sciences such as economics, politics, anthropology, and so on, the social sciences, and another broad label, what we will call the humanities. But we'll be studying the humanities from a naturalistic perspective, seeing human beings and everything that they have developed in the context of the broader canvas of nature's working its way out. So this will be our curriculum, and that tracks a fairly standard curriculum that most of us are familiar with in Western civilization. Now, if we ask an immediate follow-up question, this is the, in effect, the content, right, or the what we will teach. If we ask then the relative, the correlative rather, epistemological issue, we say, all right, all of this that's in the Big Bang story or this particular narrative, that we all these claims to knowledge about how the universe came into being, how do we know, right, that all of this is true? If we want students to come to believe this and perhaps to add more elements to the knowledge when they themselves become adults, what method are we using here to develop all of this knowledge, and what method will we replicate and be teaching to students as we pass on this knowledge to them and put them into in a position to be able to develop more of that knowledge themselves? Here we're asking the question of how. In this case, well, then we say all of this knowledge, right, that we have came as a result of observation, right? Lots of analysis, lots of doing logic and argumentation, and then in most sophisticated forms of all of these, the use of high-powered scientific methodologies. And so the curriculum will be dominated by these subjects, but those subjects will be taught involving an interplay of all of these methods, both as verification of the content that we're teaching and as training the students to be able to think those issues through for themselves and discover new knowledge.